Hi everyone, I'm Jules. I'm an online fitness and nutrition coach for women, and today we're gonna go through some of my go-to stretches so that you don't have to feel sore and tight and awful in your body anymore. Okay, friends, we're going to go through some of my go-to mobility stretches. Honestly, today's kind of a perfect day because I'm feeling a little bit stiff and sore. I hit all 3 of my strength training workouts this week. My body's just feeling it. This is something in general that you should really make sure that you are not neglecting in your health and fitness journey, especially the older that we get. It's extremely important that we're keeping immobile. I would say that I'm normally spending anywhere from 5 minutes to 10 minutes doing some dynamic stretching, warming up before any of my strength training. So I'm gonna be going through a lot of those stretches today. If it is freezing outside or if I've just been like sitting at my desk all day, it's extremely important that I do warm up my body even before stretching. So typically I will do a good like 2 to 5 minutes, treadmill, stair climber, whatever I'm kind of feeling. But we're gonna go through my stretches. Normally I like to start off with a little bit of like a full body like roll through my spine, and then I'll do some like walkouts. Keep my legs and my knees nice and loose. The goal here is just to kind of get my entire body warm and feeling good. This is the best stretch ever. You can kind of play around with your feet a little bit. Feels so good on the calves. And then from here, I like to do kind of a full body, almost like a yogi kind of like roll through with my spine. And I'll start at my feet and kind of roll through, push up, and stretch up. And then I'll kind of lead to one side, the other side, push back. Breathing through everything, opening up your back, especially if you've been sitting a lot throughout your day, and opening it up. Another variation that's great is just tapping your elbow to the ground, opening it up as much as you can. And then I like to do quite a good amount of lunge variations, kind of keeping a 90-degree angle here with your legs. We actually want to tuck our pelvis under. You're gonna feel like awesome like quad stretch, and then push your hips forward while keeping it tucked. So good for the quads. I'll do this a couple times, and then I'll just kind of relax out, go forward, go back on my hammies, kind of give it a good stretch, kind of move through this, then go into like a full lunge. Again, moving through, opening up, twisting, open up the other way as much as you can, close back off, and then kind of go on the outer portion of your foot here to kind of open everything up. This feels really good on kind of like the whole outer portion of your glute. Same thing on the other side here. Really open it up. Kind of hip internal rotation. My hip just literally cracked. They're the best. And then my favorite is 90-90s, trying to get as much of a 90 degree as possible. And then we basically want to switch our positioning without putting any upper body contact on the ground. Another great one for just kind of warming up the general like hip, low back region is just doing hip circles. And very similar to our strength training exercises, the more slow and controlled that you can be, even within your dynamic stretches, the more that you're actually gonna get out of it. Because if we're rushing this, we're probably gonna be sloppy with it. We're just not gonna get that control. Some spinal twists. Another great one to kind of warm up like the whole posterior chain, your whole like back side of your body, is grabbing the front of your, grabbing your toes, can I speak? Grabbing your toes and just bending down as much as you can into like a full squat, and then kind of pressing your knees out a little bit, sitting into that, opening it up, feeling that stretch along the whole side of your body. Feels so good. Hip rotations. Fun fact about me is that I have extremely flexible hamstrings. Like I can comfortably like put my nose on the floor, but I have not the most flexible hips. So the nature of what I do with work, doing online fitness and nutrition coaching, I'm pretty much sitting at my desk all day. I do get like 10K steps. I'm very mindful of getting outside and getting some movement in, but it's very tough on your body to kind of sit for a long time. So sometimes my back feels it. And then honestly, just other things that are extremely underrated are body weight movements, especially if you're about to work. Let's say I was about to do hip thrusts, like heavy hip thrusts. Just doing a couple body weight or banded hip thrusts to like get my glutes activated and get my body used to that movement before loading it heavy is so good for your body. So for example, even just like doing body weight and just focusing on kind of tucking your pelvis, squeezing, holding it for a couple seconds, slowly coming down. You can also do single leg, press, press. If I'm doing full body or upper body, I like to use a long band. Most gyms have these, honestly, but there's so much you can do with these longer resistance bands. I like to do dislocations to kind of grab them wide and then just go front to back here. You can go around the world. Really good for kind of opening up your chest, stretching your upper body, and then I'll kind of keep my arms nice and wide and kind of twist. Also really good for upper body. Pull aparts are also really great. Keeping a nice little bend to your elbows, kind of warming up that chest. And then you can also just use like a short band or a long band to warm up other areas of your body. So sometimes what I'll do for hammies is kind of tuck my upper body here, and then do a little bit of a hinge for some resistance. Okay guys, so I know as humans, we like to just wait. We like to wait until we get an injury or we're just feeling really sore. And then we're like, okay, maybe I should do some stretching. But that's not helping anyone. So we wanna make sure we're putting ourselves into that seat of like longevity and being proactive about how we want our body to feel. Like if you are someone who does train consistently, it's extremely important to also respect that rest and recovery, that active recovery, getting enough sleep and actually resting. We also need to make sure we're doing like some active recovery. So like walking, doing some stretches, foam rolling, especially like mentioned, if you are someone who does weight train quite frequently, because your body is going to get nice and tight. We're gonna get lots of like fascia buildup. And for myself personally, I feel like this took me a while to figure out, like most people. I would only really prioritize it if I did have an injury or if I was feeling sore. But now that I do really intentionally make sure, 10 to 15 minutes before my weight training session, let's get warm, let's get some stretches going, let's get some mobility prioritized. Number one, my sessions are 10 times better because I have that increased range of motion, blood flow. My body is prepared to go into my sessions to maximize what I'm doing, which is huge, but also that injury prevention as well. I'm 10 times less likely to actually injure myself in my session. And play around with what works for you too. Like there are tons of stretches available. Obviously these are kind of my go-tos, and you can kind of play around with what works for you, what makes your body feel the best. But whatever it is, I think it should be something that, you can just kind of repeat, then you don't feel like you need to figure out what stretches you're gonna do. You have something to follow. Like mentioned, you can follow this video if you really want to try it out and see what works for you. And what I found really works for me is just really intentionally carving out that time. So it's no different than if I am going to the gym. I have that time blocked in my calendar. Same with my stretches, same with my mobility. I put that into my calendar and respect it just as I would my regular workouts. And I find for me, that's the one thing that really does hold me accountable, because otherwise I'm like, I will do this on this day. You think I'm gonna remember that on top of everything else that I need to do? Absolutely not. And make it enjoyable for yourself. I like to keep myself a little bit distracted, kind of romanticize it, make it fun. So I'll listen to like a podcast, watch a movie, a TV show, YouTube. It doesn't have to be a super boring thing for you to do. I hope you guys enjoyed some of these exercise tips, and yeah, let me know if you try them out. I will see you in my next video.